एडमिरल केक्स्टर अपने फ्लैगशिप के ब्रिज पर खड़ा था, देख रहा था कि नीली ग्रह व्यूइंग स्क्रीन पर बढ़ रही है। उसके बाजू पीछे जुड़े हुए थे जब वो टारगेट स्टार के तीसरे जहां का घूर से मुताला कर रहा था। अर्थ बिल्कुल रिपोर्टों जैसी ही नजर आ रही थी। उसकी सतह पर गहरे समुद्र छाए हुए थे, बीच बीच में सब्ज और भूरे जमीनी हिस्से बिखराए हुए। सेफ्ड बादल फिजा में घुमाव बनाते हुए चल रहे थे, उसे उन हजारों दुनियाओं की याद दिला रहे थे जहां वो फातेह हासिल कर चुका था। वेलारी फ्लीट उसके जहाज के पीछे लोहे के तूफान की तरह फैली हुई थी। 500 जांगुन के जहाज चंद के गिर्द अंधेरे में लड़े खड़े थे। हर जहाज इतनी कुव्वत रखता था कि बर्रे बड़े बड़े आजम जलाए जा सकें और इतनी लश्कर के पूरे सैयारे काबू में किए जा सकें। एडमिरल केक्स्टर इसी फ्लीट की मदद से 3000 सालों में 847 जहां अपने ज़ईर-ए-तसल्लुत ला चुका था। अर्थ उसकी 844वीं शिकार होती। कैप्टन युलनोस सेंसर स्टेशन से लंबी उंगलियों में एक डेटा पढ़ लिए करीब आया। उसकी बैंगनी जिल्द पर हल्का रंग इस बात का इशारा था कि वो पुरुत्साह है। एडमिरल, इब्तिदाई स्कैन्स मुकम्मल हो गए हैं, उसने डिवाइस देते हुए कहा। इंसान हमारी सोचने से भी ज्यादा अदोमिन हैं। मुश्किल से चंद तक पहुंचे हैं और उनके सबसे बड़े स्पेस स्टेशंस हमारी शटल बेस में समझ जाते। केक्स्टार ने स्क्रीन पर चलती हुई डिजिट्स देखी। इंसानों की आबादी सिर्फ 8 अरब के करीब थी, जो 7 बड़े आज़मों पर फैले हुए थे। उनकी टेक्नोलॉजी बस बुनियादी स्पेस सफर के लिए ही काफी थी। ज्यादातर एनर्जी अब भी कदीम ऑर्गेनिक फ्यूल जलाकर हासिल की जा रही थी, जमीन खोदकर निकाली जा रही थी। उनके हथियार सिर्फ प्रोजेक्टिल और धमाकाए वलय डिवाइसेस तक महदूद थे, जो वेलारी आर्मर पर खुरोच भी ना छोड़ सकें। और उनका निजामी जंग? एडमिरल ने पूछा जब वो इंसानी शहरों की तस्वीर देख रहा था। इमारतीन कमजोर और आरती दिखाई देती थीं, वेलारी के जिंदा शीशों के इम्तियाजी इमारतों के मुकाबले में। ज्यादातर इमारतें ढूंढकर निकाले हुए पत्थर और धात से बनी थीं। वो करीबन 200 सियासी हिस्सों में तकसीम हैं, युलनोस ने जवाब दिया। उसके लहजे में थोड़ा सा तमस्खुर था। ये कूमेन मुसलसल एक दूसरे से लड़ती रहती हैं, कभी भी सैयारावासी इत्तेहाद हासिल नहीं कर पाएं। हमारी मालूमात ये कहती हैं कि ये लोग टेक्नोलॉजी बढ़ाने से ज्यादा एक दूसरे को नुकसान पहुंचाने पर खर्च करते हैं। ये बात केक्स्टर को बहुत पसंद आई। तकसीम शुदा दुनियाएं हमेशा आसान शिकार होती थीं। इंसान वेलारी उल्टीमातुम का जवाब देने के बजाय आपस में बेहस में उलझ जाएंगे। कुछ कूमेन अलग से अमन की डील करना चाहेंगी, कुक फौरन तस्लीम कर देंगी और शायद चंद वेलारी का साथ भी दें बदले में बेहतरीन सुलूक के लिए। नीचे जमीन पर डॉक्टर देहजोकिम अपनी जिंदगी का सबसे बुरा दिन गुजार रहा था। डीप स्पेस मॉनिटरिंग नेटवर्क जो उसने 5 साल में तैयार किया था, अभी अभी सोलर सिस्टम में सबसे बारी आर्टिफिशियल ऑब्जेक्ट्स की मजमुआ को ट्रेस कर चुका था। ये ऑब्जेक्ट्स वजह तौर पर जहाज थे और बिल्कुल भी इंसानी नहीं। वो यूनाइटेड अर्थ डिफेंस इनिशिएटिव के हेडक्वार्टर्स के कंट्रोल रूम में बैठा था, स्क्रीन्स पर नजर जमाए। जहां से गलत लगती हुई मालूमात बढ़ रही थी। कितने जहाजों का अंदाजा है? जनरल मिन्हो पार्क ने उसके पीछे से पूछा। फौज का यह अफसर पहली अलर्ट के आधे घंटे बाद ही पहुंच गया था। उसकी यूनिफॉर्म थोड़ी शिकन खई हुई थी, इस बात का सबूत के यूसे सूला से उठाया गया था। कंप्यूटर के मुताबिक तकरीबन 4 से 600 जहाज, देहजो ने जवाब दिया बिना स्क्रीन से निगाह हटाए। द लार्जेस्ट वेसल्स एक्सीडेड 3 किलोमीटर्स इन लेंथ. Nothing humanity possessed came close. Minho felt his stomach drop. Earth's entire orbital defense amounted to a dozen platforms and maybe 30 patrol craft. Even if every human military unit coordinated perfectly, they would be outnumbered roughly 20 to 1. Against technology capable of crossing the stars while humanity still struggled to reach Mars, numerical odds lost all meaning. Have they attempted communication? The general asked, pulling tactical overlays up on his personal tablet. Red icons representing hostile craft crowded the display like an infestation of angry insects. Nothing yet, Dejo said. But Dr. Jawan Lee is monitoring every band. If they transmit anything, we'll hear it instantly. 3 decks below, in the communications center, Dr. Jawan Lee sat amid the most advanced radio arrays on Earth. A former professor of linguistics turned defense specialist. She had suddenly become the planet's best chance at first contact. It was bitterly ironic that years spent cataloging extinct human tongues had led to this moment, when the most critical translation task in history was beginning. Her receivers captured a steady exchange between the alien vessels. However, the signals followed mathematical patterns that bore no resemblance to human speech. The fleet appeared to employ a form of quantum encoding that her machines could not yet decrypt. She could tell the ships were exchanging commands and acknowledgments, but the content remained opaque. "Anything useful?" asked her assistant, Kayang Ho, who monitored auxiliary channels. "They definitely have a command hierarchy," Jiwan replied, adjusting her headset. "One ship transmits far more than the rest and receives replies from across the formation, but I can't parse the content. The structure isn't in any of our databases." Aboard the Valari flagship, Admiral Kekstar reviewed the finalized assault plans with senior officers. The tactical hologram depicted Earth ringed by red markers denoting primary targets. Dense population centers were slated to be struck first as a show of Valari dominance. Military bases would be obliterated to prevent organized resistance. Communications infrastructures would be neutralized to prevent any coordinated human response. "How long do we give them to surrender?" asked Commander Thexville, who would command the initial strike. His impatience for combat betrayed itself in the restless twitching of his secondary limbs. "The standard 72 hours, Kekstar replied. "That allows them time to comprehend their predicament and make the rational choice. Most species capitulate within 48 hours after witnessing an adequate demonstration of our capability." "And if they refuse?" someone pressed. "Then we follow standard conquest protocol," the Admiral said coldly. "Crush their armed forces, seize major population centers, install a provisional administration. The same sequence that has secured our rule for 3 millennia. At that moment, the communications officer at the bridge spoke up. "Admiral, we are receiving multiple transmissions from the planet's surface. Humans are attempting to contact us on several different frequencies." "Patch it through the translator," Kekstar ordered. Within seconds, the bridge speakers crackled with primitive human voices in dozens of tongues. The universal translator strained against the diversity, but rendered most messages comprehensible. "This is the United Nations of Earth," one voice announced. "We request peaceful dialogue with your representatives. Chinese Space Command to unknown vessels. Identify yourselves and state your intentions," another called. "The Russian Federation demands an immediate explanation for your presence in Earth's orbital space," a third voice said, laced with anger. Admiral Kekstar listened to the babble of human appeals and demands for several minutes, then signaled the communications officer to terminate the feed. The fragmented responses validated their intelligence reports. Humanity could not even agree internally on who was authorized to speak for the species. "Transmit the standard ultimatum," he commanded. "All frequencies, all languages. Make sure every person on that planet understands their position." The message sent was blunt and absolute. The Valari Confederation claimed sovereignty over the system and every world within it. Humanity was granted 72 hours to surrender unconditionally. Resistance would bring the total annihilation of human civilization. Compliance would guarantee survival under Valari oversight and protection. Dr. Daejo Kim read the translated directive 3 times before the full weight of it registered. These visitors were not explorers, merchants, or refugees. They were conquerors whose pattern of behavior had been repeated many times before. Daejo felt a cold clarity settle over him as he realized decades of complacency and squabbles left Earth exposed and vulnerable to a foe that recognized neither mercy nor negotiation. Based on their precision and confidence, it was obvious this was not their first conquest. "Get me every world leader on a secure channel," Daejo ordered his communications staff. "And pull every archive we have on extraterrestrial sightings or legends. If these invaders have subjugated other civilizations, someone may have recorded it." General Minho Park was already mobilizing every asset Earth could muster. Orbital platforms charged their weapons. Naval fleets repositioned to shield coastal cities. Air forces scrambled jets to patrol skies above national borders. It would not be enough. But humanity would not yield without resistance. The next 72 hours would decide whether mankind remained free or became just another line in the Valari's endless catalog of the conquered. Admiral Kekstar had no doubts. He had watched this play out 847 times before, and the end had never changed. Yet, far beneath Earth's oceans, something ancient shifted in the dark. Within crystalline vaults older than humanity itself, faint lights stirred, pulsing with slow rhythms. The energy was weak after millennia of dormancy, but it was awakening. Humanity's true inheritance was beginning to rise. When the 72-hour deadline expired, Earth's refusal was defiant. Admiral Kekstar was unsurprised. Young civilizations almost always needed to witness Valari might firsthand. He gave Commander Thexville authorization to begin the demonstration. From orbit, the first wave of Valari fighters descended like silver meteors. Their targets, the International Space Station and 3 orbital platforms hastily outfitted with missiles. Human defenses fired desperately, but their primitive projectiles were sluggish, detonating uselessly against shimmering Valari shields. From his command fighter, Thexville observed the slaughter. The station disintegrated in moments under focused plasma beams. The platforms endured a little longer, but molten hulls soon evaporated into glowing debris. In less than 10 minutes, Earth's space defenses were annihilated. Resistance eliminated, Thexville reported to the flagship. Commencing atmospheric insertion for surface strikes. Dr. Daejo Kim sat frozen, watching his life's work vanish. Every satellite, every station he had designed, obliterated. Alien craft moved through the void with impossible grace, while human forces seemed clumsy toys by comparison. The disparity wasn't just disadvantage, it was humiliation. "Sir, ground-based radar is picking up multiple squadrons," a technician shouted. "Alien fighters are entering the atmosphere over major population centers." Deep beneath Seoul, General Minho Park directed the crumbling defense. Squadrons of human jets scrambled to intercept, but the outcome was never in doubt. Missiles couldn't even lock onto craft moving faster than guidance systems could register. Valari weapons shredded Earth's finest aircraft as if they were paper models. "Fall back to secondary positions," Minho ordered into his headset. "All units adopt guerrilla protocols. We can't face them head-on." The alien demonstration lasted precisely 1 hour. 12 nations lost key bases to surgical strikes, hangars, command nodes, and airfields reduced to rubble, though most personnel were spared. The intent was chillingly clear. The Valari could exterminate humanity at will, but they preferred to show restraint. The Valari seemed almost reluctant, striking with precision to avoid unnecessary casualties. Commander Thexville, however, felt a hollow disappointment. Humanity's defenses had collapsed far too quickly. Their fighter pilots had shown flashes of bravery, but no real tactics. Their weapons were crude, their coordination amateurish. This conquest, he thought, might prove one of the swiftest in Valari history. But then something happened that his battle logs had never prepared him for. As Valari troops descended to secure smoldering bases, the surviving humans did not flee or surrender. Instead, small groups launched counterattacks with weapons and maneuvers far sharper than their regular armies had displayed. Hyun Woo Nam crouched behind the charred hull of a burning tank, watching armored figures advance through the wreckage of Osun Air Base. Once a fighter pilot, he had been grounded after an injury 6 months earlier. Now, improbably, he found himself commanding 20 shaken survivors in what should have been a hopeless stand. "Wait until they hit the fuel depot," he whispered. "And remember, move between shots." The Valari soldiers strode forward in powered armor that made them towering giants, their plasma rifles tearing holes through concrete like paper. Yet as Hyun Woo studied their march, something seemed off. They moved with precision, but also with complacency, as though expecting no real threat. When the lead alien reached the mark, Hyun Woo gave the signal. Gunfire erupted from 6 separate positions. The Valari expected scattered panic, but instead the volleys were disciplined, measured bursts aimed at armor gaps. 3 soldiers went down instantly. The survivors wheeled to return fire, but the humans had already shifted positions, moving with startling speed. New shots came from fresh angles, forcing Valari troops behind shattered concrete for cover. Hyun Woo sprinted across open ground, and the world seemed to slow. His reflexes sharpened unnaturally, his body quicker than it had ever been. He saw plasma bolts before they landed and dodged them by instinct. His men felt it too, though none dared speak of it aloud. "They are not moving as predicted," growled a Valari sergeant into comms. "Human mobility does not match intelligence reports." The fighting raged for 2 full hours before reinforcements forced the humans to break into the surrounding hills. Yet the damage was undeniable. 43 Valari dead, more than 100 wounded. Losses from what should have been a trivial mop-up. Reports from across the planet told the same story. Resistance was fiercer, cleverer than expected. Worse, humans were adapting, fast. Squads that should have crumbled in minutes held out for hours, bleeding Valari units with ambushes and traps. Far from the battlefields, Dr. Sman Choi had been conducting deep ocean research when the invasion began. Her submersible had been 3 kilometers down in the Mariana Trench as the alien fleet arrived. By the time she surfaced, Earth was already burning. Now, her research vessel floated isolated in the vast Pacific with no safe harbor in sight. "Captain, we need to head for the nearest port," she urged, studying sonar scans glowing across her console. "All major ports are under alien assault," replied Captain Jin Woo grimly. Headphones pressed tight as he listened to fractured radio chatter. "We might actually be safer out here at sea,"